Good afternoon, Facebook. Good afternoon, YouTube. Thank you for joining us again for another episode of the Layover podcast. Today, my guest is Mrs. Harriet Lamkin. As you see, our topic for today is being covered. This should be a good one for the books, y'all. Trust and believe. This is going to be a good one on today. Without any further ado, let me introduce you to Harriet Lamkin, my attorney friend. She is an event space owner. She is a restaurant owner. She wears so many hats. I'm going to let Harriet take it over. And just, Harriet, tell everyone who you are and what you do.
Hey, everybody. Thank you, Fran, for having me. I'm going to do a segue. I met Karen maybe 2 or 3 years ago. We didn't know each other, but she had this amazing women's brunch. And somehow I ended up on a panel there. And I loved her brunch. I loved the women she had in the room. I loved the concept. So I'm glad we connected. I think that was in 2018, and we're still connected now. All right. So thank you for having me today. I'm Harriet Lamkin. Who is Harriet Lamkin? Harriet Lamkin is a girl from rural South Carolina who loves God. The Lord has blessed me, and he has favored me with so many things. So you ran it down. I'm an attorney, been practicing law for the last 11 years. I'm also an entrepreneur, real estate. I just acquired an event space. My husband and I, we have a restaurant, a food truck, with more restaurants literally on the way in the coming months. And so I'm blessed. I'm busy, but I'm a down-to-earth girl from the middle of nowhere who loves God and loves the opportunity to just share what the Lord can do for me and for anyone else.
This how I know this is going to be a good topic about being covered. She said she's from the middle of nowhere, but you hear everything that she has going on, people. So, Miss Harriet, when you first saw the topics that I had, the subtitles, what was your first thought and what led you to the topic of being covered?
So you had amazing topics, right? So you had some amazing topics, but the Lord just dropped in my spirit, pick that one. And that wasn't even the one I would have picked for myself, because I was like, what you gonna say about being covered, right? But yeah, man, the Lord said pick that one, literally. And that's the one I shot you back.
Okay. So we led today. So what does being covered means to you?
It means it's layered. So I have layers of being covered. So the first is obviously going to be God. The first thing for me of being covered is being covered by God. And so literally I went back and I said, what does being covered by God look like, and where does it stem from? So in everything that I do, I'm covered by the Lord, right? And so I'm not like no preacher or no theologian, but I love the Bible. So I went back to Exodus, to Egypt, when Pharaoh wouldn't let the people go, and when being covered first came up in the Bible, right? And so it was the Passover. It was the last of the 10 plagues where Moses told Pharaoh, let my people go. If you don't let my people go, God is going to kill every firstborn in Egypt, right? From people to animals. But he didn't touch the Hebrews, because he told them to cover your doorposts with the blood of a lamb, and we're going to pass over when the death angels come through. So the first level of being covered was a spiritual thing for me, right? Because God covered them. And then fast forward to Jesus coming. So in our time, we're still covered under the blood, because Jesus dies almost Easter season, right? So just rock with me. Jesus died on the cross and sacrificed his blood so that we are covered, right? We're still covered under the blood. So my first thought of being covered was strictly spiritual. I'm covered by God because of these things that happen. And that's the best covering you can have, because if you're covered by God, then that'll take care of everything else. So that's my first layer, right? My next layer of being covered, as I came up, I was covered by my parents, right? So if you have good parents, you had a good childhood, right? Or somebody, not just good parents, good guardians in your life. If you was blessed to have people in your life who provided for you, who gave you what they had, who taught you what they knew, who set you up for success, right? That was a covering, because all that I have now is attributed to first God, to my parents, because they set me up for success, right? Now as a grown woman, I'm married. That's another layer of covering. I'm covered by Jeffrey Lamkin, right? So being covered is so layered, because my husband covers me spiritually. He provides. And so, but it's not just them, because I have a girl tribe. I have a group of friends. We cover each other, right? Emotionally, they have my back. So being covered can mean a multiplicity of things. But those are just some of the few for me: God, family, friends. Okay. I'm covered by people who have my back at every possible level. Make sense?
It definitely makes sense. And I was going to ask you at some point, when did you realize you were covered? But it sounded like you already knew
Always,
you was covered. You
always, right,
always.
right. Even as a kid, I might not have defined it as being covered, but I knew I was in a safe space and had everything I needed. So I've been blessed to always have been covered, no matter what level I was at in life.
And we came from a generation where the village raised us. It wasn't just the one person in the household, mom and dad in the house. Everyone in the neighborhood raised us. And that was you being covered.
Yeah.
Times now may be a little bit different. But
yeah, everybody stay in their own house, mind their own business. But I miss that community. You needed it. Definitely. Right? Because you don't just want your kid to win. You want everybody's kid to win.
Right, because if Miss Mabel saw you down the street doing something you ain't had no business doing, she was gonna get you.
And then she was gonna call your mama them, and you was gonna get it again when you got home.
Exactly. When you look at it now, you're like, oh my goodness, like I didn't like that then. I didn't understand it then, but now that you're of age, it's like if I didn't have that covering, if I didn't have the village, if there wasn't people that respected my family, then where would I be?
Exactly. That's real. We need that. And I think, and we look at being covered, is not just who is covering us, but I think we need to, as I grow older, who am I covering? Right? Who am I mentoring? Who am I sharing my knowledge with if they're starting to start a business or trying to do something? Because I think that covering should be reciprocal, right? You should give what you get. So someone covered you. So I think it's prudent among us that when we can, without intruding or imposing, we make sure we're covering our own.
And you brought up who are you covering? So I saw during the pandemic that you and your husband with the restaurant that you guys have down in Sumter, that you actually were covering other people when they didn't have the needs to cover themselves.
Oh, definitely.
How did that idea come about?
Literally, Jeffrey was in the shower one day. We're in the middle of a pandemic. I think it was April. Business is slow. Business is slow because people in the house, people getting laid off from work. And Jeffrey was like, yo, God told me today to just, like this week, we're going to feed. It started out at 500 people. It ended up being 1,000 for free. I said, well, how are we going to do this? He said, we're just going to set it up. We're going to use what we got. We're going to let them drive through the back parking lot of the restaurant, literally. And so we pulled that off in like 2 days. And we had a line of traffic 3 miles long. The sheriff them had to come out there and direct traffic, just obeying God, because we were in a time where people were in need. And I said, I would have to really need food to sit in a line for 3 hours and get a plate of chicken, rice, and green beans and cornbread. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, just being obedient to God and looking out for one another. Use what you can to help somebody else, to cover somebody else.
So listen, you was prepared to feed 500.
Yeah, that's what we had planned for. Yes.
How did you stretch it to 1,000?
My husband said, we're going to feed till I run out of food. We just kept cooking. So we had planned and bought food specifically for 500, but we had other food in the restaurant. And he was just like, I'm going to just keep cooking. We are literally going to cook until we're going to feed until we ran out of food. We cooked every stitch of chicken, pork chop, fish, everything we had in the restaurant. And we gave away all of our inventory. We did. Yeah.
And the Bible says when we help God's people, he's going to turn around and give it back to us 10 times more, right?
He has done that for us quickly. And, we didn't give to get, but it's just God's principle, right? If you what you make happen for others, God will make happen for you on a larger scale. Yep.
During the pandemic, would you say that you and your husband was covered during that time?
Absolutely. Because we actually caught COVID. Jeffrey caught COVID at a church meeting that had about 9 people there. And he was sick. And I, me being a wife, he would tell me stay out the room, but he was so sick, I would go check on him. Then I caught COVID. And we were sick. We didn't have to go to the hospital, thank God, but it put us down. But I just thank God we live, because I know people who caught COVID and they didn't make it. Right. Or, I know a young man, he's 45, married with 2 kids. He just died the other day from COVID. So this thing is still real. So I thank God that he covered us. We caught it, but they say, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, right? For God is with me. So God was with us even in the midst of that. You know what I mean? So definitely we've been covered, not just with our health, but with our businesses. I know so many business owners, small business owners, who have struggled during this season, and the Lord has just favored us that we kept the doors open. We didn't have to fire anybody, lay anybody off. So we thank God for that. We thank God for that.
So the restaurant stayed open. You stayed with a full staff. No one had to be let go.
No.
You opened up a new business.
Yeah, I did. I
During the
did. The Lord is
pandemic.
faithful. The Lord is faithful. Yeah,
Harriet,
literally. The Lord is faithful. We literally had 2 more restaurants opening by June 2021. Right? It's April, right? No, it's March.
two. So
June.
I need to
Yeah.
catch up. It's two.
Yeah, the Lord is faithful. And I probably shouldn't have said that. My husband gonna be mad at me, but yeah, so we thank
Well, we
God.
ain't
So
gonna talk about it no more. We ain't even gonna talk
oh,
about
yeah. But no, it's just a testament to the Lord's faithfulness, because in a time of pandemic, or someone said time of famine, the Lord has covered us and he's allowing us to flourish. Right. And we are grateful for that.
and
We're
even
grateful for that.
space.
Oh yeah, I'm excited about that. And, you know, we are opening an event space. I have it. We bought it. We closed in October. I've done a pretty serious renovation. People have we have bookings through June 2022. You know, I was just watching COVID. Like, I'm telling people, I'm really not comfortable letting people in here right now. But we're going to start in May. Is our first weekend in May is our first event. But we literally have bookings through June 2022. And I'm like looking at the calendar, like, are you serious? But this is another way of God just providing favor. Yeah.
That's covering.
It is covering.
We
It's
in a
so, yeah,
pandemic. You
it
feed
is
people.
covering.
You plan for 500. You double up to 1,000. No one has been laid off or fired.
Mm-hmm.
But you have established or birthed double the business that you already had.
I'm telling you, and like not only was people not fired, we hiring people. Like at this point, business booming. I was like, Jeff, you need to hire some people. You need to hire some people. So yeah, we thank God for it.
So I didn't touch on you being in real estate. How was the real estate market going?
It's a good time if you're buying, right? So I'm buying. It's been good. So I've acquired some properties during this time at a fraction of the cost. Interest rates are better than they've ever been in my lifetime, right? Since I've been in a position to. So if you had some resources stored up, this pandemic could have worked in your favor. It really could have. So yeah, I got into the commercial and residential rental game, and I'd already been in it, but it increased during the pandemic. So that's been good.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It was perspective for a lot of people during the pandemic. All of a sudden, you know, the world came to a halt and no one knew how to handle that. And you didn't go into resource mode. You really went into mental starvation, because at this point, you're not used to sitting down. You're not used to just, you know, thinking about the resources that you have available. Some people got stuck. Even to hear your story of you were able to maneuver through and to get more done while some people weren't able to do so. And it's not because they probably didn't have the means to do it, but the perspective of, let me just do this a little bit differently. Let me shift this around a little bit. So even being covered mentally, you have to think about, you know, where you could have been versus where you are right now.
You got to look at what you have as opposed to what you don't have. So I say this: in America, 500,000 people died from COVID. If you are alive to watch this video, if you woke up today, we all covered, because it missed you. We saw, like, COVID was real. We saw people dying in droves. I got 2 sets of cousins that own funeral homes. They've had more business in the last 12 months than their business probably have had in the last 10 years combined. So if you are alive today, the Lord covered us all. And that's not to be taken lightly. So I tell everybody, when you wake up every day, no matter what the circumstances are, you have 2 options. And everybody has the same 2 options. You have time, because the Lord allows you to live another day, and you have a choice. And he has given us free will so we can choose what we're going to do. So during the COVID pandemic, at first, you know, I was like everybody else. What is this? How long is it going to last? Is it that serious? But I chose to, after a while, you know, at first I just kind of went with the flow. Let's see how this is going to go. I watched Lester Holt on the news every night. That was depressing. I told Jeffrey, we got to stop watching the news. We got to focus on God and not what's going on in the world, right? Because God is greater than the world. And so when we started to focus on who our source was, it wasn't the jobs that got us all working remotely or the business that he gave us in the first place, right? So he gave it to us. He's going to take care of us. So I wish that COVID would have taught people that God is your source. You talk about being covered. It doesn't matter about the job or the this or the that. If you are in the Lord, he will provide for you. Health, wealth, whatever the need may be. And so that's what I saw God be God doing COVID for us. You know, you always know, you hear about it, you talk about it, but we've been living it for the last year. And that's a perspective that I hope everybody who has survived COVID, that you've seen that you've not missed a meal, you're not homeless. They have halted evictions on a national level. Like, and if you really, really had time, like, you know, they got all of these programs, all of these resources. If you took advantage of it, you might be in a better situation now than you were a year ago before this happened.
Absolutely.
Right? Time and choices. How did you use your time and what choices did you make? If you took this government money and you went and bought crab legs and TVs, shame on you. If you use it wisely, good job, you know?
Absolutely right. And even with that, I was doing an interview the other day, and we just talked about the resources of even technology. Mm-hmm. Yes, you were home. Yes, they told us to stay in, but you had resources such as Zooms, StreamYard, Facebook. Right. You had so many other different ways that you can connect with other people. It was.
And let's talk about that blessing. Even if you were low income, I know a lot of areas. I work with affordable housing today up in Charlotte. They were giving people free internet so your children could do virtual school. So I know people in rural areas and in urban areas and low income areas who couldn't afford internet. They got Spectrum for free now. So now you have something that you might not have had before. So there were a lot of blessings in this. And the technology was great. So I told somebody, this is the first time in my life, thank God for Facebook. Who would have known 10 years ago that Facebook would have been this necessary? How would churches have had church if it wasn't for Facebook or YouTube? So yeah, thank God for the technology. God made a way. He did.
Absolutely right. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people that are using this technology now are people that wouldn't even consider themselves being techies.
Exactly.
But we were forced in a position where we had to learn something new. Mm-hmm. And when God wants to get your attention, he'll stop the noise.
He'll shut down the world.
He'll shut it down. And we
the whole world. Yeah, that's real. Yeah.
And we all were on the same playing ground.
Yeah, it did.
Everything was normal. I mean, everything just went to ground zero for everybody. So at this point, if you did not learn anything, you did not learn any new survival skills, you didn't, learn anything new to go into your next season, then you have to question yourself and say, what did I do with this time?
Right. And I told him I was running on fumes before COVID. I was so busy. I told my husband, I have appreciated the time. So sometimes, people haven't had time to spend time with families. We had time now. And for me, it reiterated values. What's most important? It's not out here trying to make $1 and hustle. You got to spread this thing out. So I'm grateful for the time. That there have been several rainbows in the midst of this storm.
So you had rainbows while they're looking at the storm.
It's perspective. The glass always half full for me. If I didn't die, then I'm winning already. We're going to go all positive from there. That's it.
There you go. And then I saw even that during one part of it that you were working from the hospital room with your mom.
Yeah, my mom got sick. In October, my mom got sick, and we spent 35 consecutive nights in the hospital. And then we came home and we had to go back to the hospital. And I'm still at her house in Florence right now, 5 months later. But God is faithful because she's yet alive. So we thank God, and we're still believing for total healing. Talk about being covered. And so the Lord has put nice doctors and nice nurses in our paths. So we're grateful for that. We are grateful for that.
Those divine connections always are ways to show us that we're being covered. I even saw that you were able to get snuck in line and get your shot yesterday. So that's another part of being covered.
That was favorite because I was trying to find me someplace, any place. I checked CVS, Publix, Walmart, Sam's. Everybody's appointment list for these vaccines were full. And I tried the DA websites. I called my doctor friends. But I took my mom to get her second shot yesterday. And it was a real kind, talk about being covered in favor, real kind nurse. She was like, you got your shot yet? And I said, girl, I can't get registered nowhere. She said, let me see. And on the spot, she went into the system, looked to see if there were any cancellations. She said, I can get you right now, 10 minutes. The favor of God. The favor of God. And I want to say this. I'm using every platform I get. Let's get vaccinated, people, especially to my African-American people. Let's get vaccinated. Yesterday, wherever I took my mom is in Dillon, South Carolina. That's Northern PD here. There were no Black people in there. The first time I took her for the shot, there were no Black people in this location. The second time I took her for the shot, there were no Black people in here. And so I said, Dillon is a predominantly Black county. Why are there only Caucasian people in here? So I'm telling every Black person that'll listen, let's get vaccinated. This thing is serious. We all tired of being in the house. I know we have cause to be leery of vaccinations in this country from what they've done with us, from syphilis down in Tuskegee and making women sterile as they was studying for OBGYN type stuff. But this time is different. A lot of African-American scientists helped develop these vaccines. So let's get vaccinated. All right, I'm off my PSA. Thank you.
Well, while you're on your PSA, I want to jump in the hip, but just a little bit if you allow me to.
Yeah, sure.
Can you share with the passengers how you felt since being vaccinated?
All right. So when I came home yesterday, I was fine. My arm was just a little sore. I got the Moderna. Okay. My arm was a little sore yesterday, but I was fine. It was like, just massage your arm and you'll be fine. Now today, I was unusually tired, right? And I do a lot, but I'm never like this lethargic tired. So I was tired today, extreme fatigue. And for a little while, I had chills, but they told me that could be a possibility. They told me to take some ibuprofen, give it a day or so, and then it'll pass. So me, with my positive thinking self, I said, oh, the vaccine must be working. My body must be developing an immunity to it. So yeah, it did make me a little tired, a little sluggish. My arm hurt a little bit, but nothing like, not red, not swollen. I had all the symptoms they said I might experience. So that was reassuring. So I'm just going to believe that it's working. My mom had no side effects, not on the first one or on the second one. So it affects everybody differently.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't feel so bad that I regret getting it. So still go get the vaccine.
You hear it here first. And you're the first person that was vaccinated that's been on the show. So
oh, really?
Definitely thank you for the insight. Ms. Harriet, I guess it's kind of hard to ask what's next for you because it seemed like you've been moving through the whole pandemic.
What's next for me? I'm God-led. I have dreams and goals. I've accomplished a lot of things, but my next goal, I really want to go and get my general contractor's license. I love doing renovations, right? I love buying a building, especially commercial. I've not done residential yet. I love buying a building that needs work and then gutting it and starting over and making it beautiful. And so I've done about 3 projects now. And at this point, I'm calling subs myself. Say, I know the electrician, the HVAC guy, the plumber that I'm going to use, the roofer. And I was like, why am I paying a general contractor for this? I need to get this money. So my next thing is literally I'm going to get my general contractor license and I plan to develop subdivisions. So I'm not just going to sell houses. I'm going to sell houses on pieces of land where I've put subdivisions and I have built them and then sold them. That's what's next for me. That's my next 5 years.
Yeah, I hear it here first, right? So Lamkin Construction, Lamkin General Contractor.
That's it.
You heard it here first. Listen, don't leave them government contracts either. You better think about those.
No, I'm in the process of registering right now because they have to give a certain amount of contracts to women and minority-owned businesses. So I'm going to partner with a veteran so we can get the veteran, the women, and the minority-owned businesses so we can get all that government money.
Listen, I have somebody I can put you in contact with when we get off of here too. That's already in the business.
Thank you.
See that?
I love the connection. Being covered. You in my friend circle, that girl tribe, being covered. When you being covered, you look out for each other. I love it.
We always do. Mm-hmm. It has been a pleasure, Harriet. Oh my goodness. The time flew by real quick. Listen, for anybody that's out here trying to figure out how do you stay in contact or how do you keep following Miss Harriet Lamkin on IG, it is harriet.lamkin. Don't forget that P. So it's LAMPKIN.
Yes,
on Facebook, we have Harriet. Is it Hugh?
You got it.
Lamkin, and I believe it's vaccinated on Facebook. And then
it's just like how you got it on the screen.
Just like that? Okay.
Just like that.
And then we have www.lamkinlawfirm.com. Harry, we didn't touch on what type of law do you practice so they can know if they need your assistance right now.
All right. So right now in my firm, I do personal injury. I counsel a lot of pastors. I work with a lot of churches, family law, and I do wills and power of attorneys primarily. So if you're in an auto accident, commercial truck accident, slip and fall, holler at your girl, right? If your family, especially during time, you need wills, power of attorneys, medical power of attorneys, we do those. And if we do, I do divorces. If y'all don't hate each other and we just want to end amicably, I'll help you out. Okay. We can't be arguing about the couch though. I don't want to do that. That's petty.
Listen, in case you didn't know, now you know you do need her because she done touched on everything that's going on during this pandemic. So
Absolutely.
please reach out to her. I thank you all for joining us on today for the Layover podcast. If you want to catch this episode or any episode prior to this one, please go ahead and log on to anchor.fm/KTL Lifestyle. To stay informed of anything that I have going on, you can definitely follow me at KarenTLewis.com. And once again, just thank you for joining us on today, Harriet. It has been more than a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the invite. Thank you.
You're definitely welcome. Before we leave, is there anything else you want to talk to our passengers, information you want to give our passengers?
I'll say this: life is 10% what happens to you, 90% how you respond to it. So be it a pandemic, be it whatever is coming through today, nothing's going to happen to you today, tomorrow, in life that you and God can't get through together. So be positive, keep God first. And I'm writing a book called Be Great Today. So I end everything with say, be great today. Okay, guys, make today a great one.
There you have it. Thank you all for joining us. Have a wonderful afternoon.